there's a poll at the moment. Are Man United going to get Champions League football? 52% of you say yes. 48% of you say no. I pose that question because I'm interested, but I also pose that question because for me, it's not about Delo. It's certainly not about Sesko. For me, it's about that midfield. If we're going to continue to bypass our midfield because we don't trust it and hit long balls, I think we're going to become very easy to play against very, very quickly. For example, if I know Man United are going to hit long balls to try and get Mbeumo in, or Cunha in, or Sesko in, I'm not going to move to the halfway line. I'm going to make sure I've got mobility in the back. I'm going to get my goalkeeper on the edge of the box, and I'm just going to snuff out these long balls easily. And that's what Forest did, really. So both our goals came from set pieces, by the way. They didn't come from long balls. They came from set pieces. So I think Amrim is going to have to change. And the reason I mention this is next week, Spurs basically play like Forest. They basically play like Forest. So we need to find a different way of playing. I want to see I want to see possession higher for Manchester United without a shadow of a doubt. Gems has gifted 5 memberships. You're an absolute gem. Answer the question, Mark. Okay, are we going to get Champions League football, which I think will be top 5? I agree with everybody that says there's progress. I agree with everybody that says there are stubborn elements to what we're doing at the moment. I think if we, hindsight is a great thing. I think in the second half yesterday, if we'd started the half a little bit deeper and a little bit more composed on the ball, we might have weathered their storm, hit them on the break, and scored a winner. I think we could have done that. So I think there's things we could have done yesterday. But I also look at it, we're 4 games unbeaten. We're still within touching distance. Liverpool and Man City play each other next week. If we beat Spurs, I wouldn't be surprised if we're like 3rd or 4th next week. And suddenly we're sat having this conversation next Sunday night going, yabba dabba dabba do. So I don't make any decisions based on this weekend. I feel like this is a project. This is how I look at it. I still haven't answered the question, but I will. I look at it like it's a project. I go, I can't believe there were Liverpool fans after the Crystal Palace game last week saying slot out because they're 3rd in the league tonight and they played well last night. So you've jumped too soon. I see this as a project, and it's way too early to understand what the completed project's going to be. So I don't go, we're not going to get, I don't sit here and go, that point yesterday was catastrophic and terrible, but I don't sit here and go, it's a good point on the road against Forest, because I don't know yet. I don't know. I might know more next week against Spurs. So I take the positives. We drew the game. We're still unbeaten in 4 games, which is good in this league. But next week, I'll know more based on what we're doing against Spurs. If we lose to Spurs, that result yesterday becomes a shit result. We beat Spurs, that result yesterday becomes a good result. So I see it as the project it is. I see the positives, but I also see the glaringly obvious issues as well. And for me, there's a lot of people talking about Delo, there's a lot of people talking about Sesko, and we're certainly going to do that next. But my take is, the midfield is still a huge problem that we didn't solve in the summer. I think Elliot Anderson, as one player that we would like to sign maybe, but certainly as a player yesterday, exposed that midfield. And I think that we can deal with midfields of teams that want to press us high up the pitch, but we can't deal with midfields of teams that are a little bit more pragmatic. We can't deal with low blocks, and we can't deal with teams that play low blocks. And we can't deal with midfields that play low blocks because they don't overcommit. And that's why we got dominated. And when we're hitting more long balls against Forest than we did against Brighton and Liverpool, I'm sort of questioning why we're hitting so many long balls against a team that's not going to be vulnerable to long balls. And I think the answer to that question is, this is the way that Amrim wants to play at the moment because he doesn't trust playing through his midfield. And at times, that's going to be a problem if you can't be a possession team when you're 1-0 up. We have to be able to keep possession when we're in front. And I think, as I said, yesterday, you're 1-0 up against Forest. You know they're going to attack you. You need a bit of possession. You need to take the sting out of the game. And we clearly haven't got the midfielders to do that. Bruno wants to hit a long ball, and Casemiro doesn't take a touch anymore. He gets rid of the ball. We need to be able to keep possession. And we can't do that with the midfield that we've got. So this roller coaster season, this basketball to me, to you, Chuckle Brother FC, I think it's going to continue. And it's going to be exciting, but it's very hard to determine what the project's going to be at the moment. Do I think we'll get Champions League football? Well, 50-50 in the chat on the stream. Let us know if you're not watching live. You know what? Let me just riff this, because I wasn't actually going to do this, but the league table is making an appearance. Do I think Man United will get top Champions League football? I think Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea will get top 4. They're all there anyway, really. Chelsea are just off it, but their squads are better than everybody else's. They're there or thereabouts. I can't see them. I can only see them winning more games from this point. So I think top 4 will take care of itself, and I said that at the start of the season. 5th place, we'll learn a lot about that next week when we play Spurs. But if we can overcome Spurs, that's them out the way. I mean, I know it's not them out the way after game week 11, but if we can go to Spurs and win, they've then got to come to Old Trafford. Their home record's bad. I'd be confident we can finish higher than them. Bournemouth, we will beat Bournemouth at Old Trafford next week. If they play like that, we will beat them. Not worried about them. Sunderland, that's not going to last. Brighton, as I said, ridiculously inconsistent. Crystal Palace are a good side. We'll find out more about them at the end of the month when we go to Selhurst Park. But realistically, Newcastle aren't even there. Aston Villa aren't even there at the moment. So, look, yes. Do I think we'll get Champions League football right here, right now? Yes, but not for the reason you think. Not because I think we're the 5th best team in England. I just think that race for 5th is going to be chaos. It's going to be absolute chaos. I do not see at this moment in time a real contender for 5th place that we couldn't take. Like I say, Spurs, they look a bit dodgy. Sunderland, Bournemouth, Brighton, they'd just be a shock if they could sustain it. Crystal Palace, who knows? Villa and Newcastle could find some form, but why not us? If we're taking the positivity out of yesterday and the last 3 games, why can't it be us? So I think 5th place, you know, I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out.